Hey, what's up, everybody? Ryan and Matt here. We're going to do a little night baseball right now, a little members only free to the public for this one. And in the essence of time, let's get after it, my friend.
Yeah, let's get after it short and sweet, and excited to be back videoing with you, my man.
Absolutely. So, as far as pitchers go on this slate, did you have anybody you were really trying to lean into right away?
I think Wheeler's the guy. I mean, he is the SP1 for me on this slate. As of early this morning, again, ownership and all that stuff's not out yet, but Wheeler's my favorite pitcher on the slate, at least early. How about you?
I'm a big Zach Wheeler fan. A little scared of Juan Soto at this point, but
Sure.
I mean, I'm with you. Wheeler's the guy that I would choose right here. Even in his less than stellar starts, like he still gets you double digits.
You got Trey Turner, who tested positive for COVID, so he's going to be out of the lineup, which obviously is a nice added bonus for Wheeler here. I think he's the clear SP1 for me personally, and I also like Bueller.
Okay. I can get on board with Bueller, just kind of a big moment situation.
Yeah, for sure. I just think that, I guess, the three by far top arms on the slate are Bueller, Wheeler, and Giolito in my mind. And I prefer Bueller and Wheeler to Giolito. That said, I think Giolito's also in play. I'm not really looking at Malley at all, personally.
No. You know who was, it's weird seeing him up here.
Mm-hmm.
His price would be Madison Bumgarner. Now, the matchup is great. I just can't fathom spending 9,500 on him. I think he could be really good tonight, but I just don't know how I could quick submit on a lineup with him at this price tag.
Same. There's no way I could go here. I think this game, and I mentioned this last night, you got Bumgarner versus Lyles, two worst teams in baseball. I could see both pitchers pitching well. I could see this game being 9-8. So I don't trust either of these teams, neither pitchers nor offenses.
Agreed, because they're both terrible. And I think we've been talking about this for years now. When you put two terrible teams together, it's always difficult to predict what happens.
Yep. I do think that if I'm dropping down, I hardly ever use this guy, but he's on my good side right now. Andrew Heaney at 7,400.
Yeah, I gave this one a quick once over, and my first thoughts was he's going to get love. We know Colorado's god awful, especially on the road. He's as inconsistent as they come, but purely like on points per dollar.
Right.
He's a great play. You can't trust it, but is there anybody else in this price range you really feel like gives you 30-point upside?
Definitely not. So I think you just said it really, perfect when you just said, like, you don't trust it at all, but just a point per dollar upside because of his strikeout upside alone. Like, I mean, has got to put him in play. I will say Colorado got to Suarez last night. They scored like 12 runs. So, it's not like they can't hit if the pitching isn't good. But, man, his strikeout upside puts him in play here. That all being said, I would like to get up to Wheeler and Bueller.
Okay. I get that. You'll never feel warm and fuzzy about playing Andrew Heaney. It's just not the world that he lets you live in.
Amen.
So, anybody else on the cheap today that you would, even consider?
Not really.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's weird how, baseball's such a fickle game, and it's still, it's odd, even though he's been awful this year. Seeing Patrick Corbin's name's down here. Now, he's earned this cheap price tag. He has done nothing not to be priced right here, but you think about how good this guy was a couple seasons ago, and it still is just, it feels odd seeing his name down there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd play him over Bumgarner at like 3,000 less.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I don't know. I mean, I don't feel good about either of them, though. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. I don't hate Adrian Hauser. I just don't know what his pitch count is today.
Yeah,
he hasn't gone deep into a game in 3 weeks.
Yeah, both pitchers in that game, I was like, I don't really like them, but the options are just so crappy after, the top guys. And what about Fried, actually?
He's on my bad side because he was so terrible the other day, but that doesn't really influence how he's going to pitch today. So I kind of like Andrew Heaney. I think he owns upside for his price. I don't trust him at all.
Same. Fried reminds me of those lefties from the day slate, Mania and not Snell, but I thought there was another one. I can't even remember now. Kikuchi.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go with Heaney than Max Fried right now. He's 1,100 cheaper. I like the matchup better.
I get it. I have no arguments with that.
Okay. As far as offenses go, we got Milwaukee against Pittsburgh. Brewers coming in hot last night. Now you have no Yelich around. So You might think of that as a bad thing, but honestly, like Tyrone Taylor or whoever plays for him had been better than Yelich this year at a lot less money too.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They're going to be cheap all over too. So a guy like Rowdy Tellez, I know he had a
Yeah,
monster game last night. I could see filling in with these guys for sure. Is Hira back down?
might as well be. I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, Telez has been really good lately. So
yeah,
again, this won't keep up forever. They felt like they had to go out and get the Hispanic version of Daniel Vogelbach, I guess.
yeah. Seriously, he's not even Hispanic. He's Jewish.
He's Jewish? Okay, damn.
I know.
So now you're an even bigger fan, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, well, he's been a
Good.
hitter since he got there. He's been really good lately. He's been putting together a lot of hard contact. He's only 2,300. I mean, welcome to Milwaukee, bud. I like you. You're a new player I like now.
For sure. Is
No, I think
Lorenzo
here is still up. He just never really plays anymore.
okay? Is Lorenzo Kane back?
Yeah, he came back yesterday.
Okay, I thought so. Nice little. I mean, I've always been a Kane. I just like to cut his gym.
He brings intangibles, and in baseball, that's so important to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, Tyrone Taylor, man, this guy's a player. And with Yelich out, like, expect him to easily be back in the lineup today. Had a nice little series over the weekend. Again, 2,300. Like, you can stack Milwaukee and play those two pitchers like you like.
For sure. And I think that's a good look. And you said it. It's weird to say like Tyrone Taylor's been better than Yelich, but that's a fact.
To quote Max Kellerman, statistics are a numerical fact of history or a numerical breakdown of history. So, like, there's always the stat crowd versus the anti-stat crowd. Like, there's no lying here. Nobody really wants to say Taylor is better than Yelich, but he's been better than this year.
No doubt.
So Adames is like, is their best hitter right now, 4,300. They're super, super affordable.
Very affordable. So they make sense.
Yeah. It's hard to get excited about Pittsburgh, so I think you can just agree not to probably want to play them on a big slate, like almost every big slate they're on.
Yeah, seriously. And I'll say this. I did not get a ton right last night. Philly was really good for me 2 nights ago, so I went back there last night, and there were other offenses that just went off. But I loved Bryce Harper yesterday. He had been walking a ton, and he proceeded to have a monster game. So, yeah, I figured you'd like that.
Yep. That's how Harper rolls, man.
Yeah.
One, he's been good lately, and that's just who he is. He's one of the streakier stars/superstars in the game.
Playing MLB DFS for like years now has made me realize just how streaky some of these guys actually are. It makes you really appreciate Mike Trout. I know you've been saying that for years.
Yeah, Trout is just such a master of consistency. Not that he doesn't have like subtle ups and downs,
Sure.
but it's not the roller coaster ride that Bryce Harper gives you.
No, not even a little bit.
All that being said, man, you can talk me into anybody from Philly against Patrick Corbin. We kind of talked about him as a pitcher, but I'd much rather take Philly bats against him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got guys all over their lineup. McCutcheon's been good. Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, Gene Segura leading off. For sure. I'm with that.
Yeah, Philly's definitely a look for me. And again, even though I like Wheeler, man, I think you can get Soto at probably lower ownership today. And, we've talked about this for weeks and weeks and weeks, that you are going to blink, and next thing you know, his year-long number is going to look pretty good. Yeah, well, they are on the rise, and they are looking pretty good now.
Yeah, they are.
So, all right, next up, Miami against Baltimore, potential World Series matchup right here. George Lopez, who, well, let's face it, he ain't great. This is kind of like that other game that we mentioned. 2 bad teams. Anything can happen.
I agree with that. Hard not to like the offenses, though, a little bit, at least at first glance. I mean, Marte is having a really good year, running a ton. So the Miami side sticks out to me more than the Baltimore side.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Miami is not as bad as Arizona and
No,
Texas. So
these teams
be
are
clear on that one. What's that?
The better version of that other game, which is sad for those other teams.
So I'm with it. I could get on board with offense in this game. Good ballpark. It's a lot better in Baltimore than it would be in Miami.
Yeah, you add the DH for the Marlins. I know Brian Anderson's back. One of their better bats. He's been out for a long time. So, yeah.
You know what? I want to go back to this. But what about Jordan Holloway? He's only 6,200. I mean, he's been all right. He's had to go through L.A., Philly, and San Diego lately, and a couple of nice starts in there. Now he gets Baltimore at only 6,200. I mean, if you're trying to go cheap, I don't hate it as a dart throw.
I agree.
He could outscore Andrew Heaney tonight at probably a lot lower ownership.
For sure.
So, that being said, I also completely get Baltimore bats.
Yep.
So, yeah, you could definitely I'm more excited about Miami probably than normal today.
Yeah, I would say that's a fact for me as well.
All right. Next up, Atlanta against the Mets. Fried against Meagle. I know you like the potential of Tyler Meagle. What are your thoughts on him? And we kind of bypassed him on this one.
Man, he's so expensive, but I'll say this, Noah Cunha, obviously, Jock Peterson was out of their lineup yesterday. They crushed Jared Eichhoff, but man, Jared Eichhoff is awful. He's one of these guys that shouldn't even be pitching anymore. So I could see McGill having a good game here. I'm definitely not using the Braves against him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So he's like the NL Matt Harvey, just shouldn't be in the league anymore.
Yeah. Yes. Yes and yes.
All right. So I told you guys I probably wouldn't play Max Fried, but I'm still not looking for Mets bats in this one. This is mostly an ignore spot for me.
Yeah, I will say this about Atlanta. They got cheap guys all over. Their line, Adrianza led off at 2K yesterday. Almonte at 2,400 in the middle of that lineup. So they got cheap guys, kind of like Milwaukee. But I like the Milwaukee guys a lot more.
Agreed. No doubt about it here. All right. So this next game. So I've been using a Mac computer at work now. And you know how it's like an inverse on how you scroll? It's going to be messing with me for the rest of my life since I have to go back and forth between these two things.
Yes, that will be. Because now that I really only use a Mac, it's like second nature. But yeah, that would really mess with me too.
All right. Toronto against Boston. So I think it's worth noting. Well, obviously it's worth noting. This is a 7-inning game. So
yep.
I think I can get on board with both offenses. I just don't really love 7-inning games on monster slates.
It's hard to love 7-inning games on bigger slates like this. Houck was really good last time out too. There was a late rain delay in that game. This is more like if you want to use like a JD Martinez one-off or anything from Toronto, I get it. But it's hard to want to sell my soul on a full stack. If I did, it would be Toronto. For one, they're on the road, which adds an extra inning. And I don't know. I don't really like either side, though, in a 7-inning game.
Agreed. Yankees against the Rays. Cortez against Waka Waka.
All of a sudden, this Rays lineup is real good.
Yeah, man. I love what the Rays are doing right now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this years. They're going for it. This is basically living in Green Bay and just being on social media a lot and watching most people just not understand the Aaron Rodgers situation, that it was never about money. What does he just take the money? That's not what he was talking about.
Right.
What he wanted them was to go for it. And now it looks like they're going to kind of do that. Well, Tampa Bay is going for it. And I have so much respect for that for them as an organization.
Another thing I love too, Nelson Cruz is known throughout baseball as being a good clubhouse guy. They put his locker right next to Wander Franco. I love stuff like that.
This is a great move. If it just doesn't work, go down swinging. Go in with effort, not just basically that's been the Packers mantra is we're just going to be pretty good. And it's irritated our fan base for a really, really long time. And I love what Tampa Bay is doing right here. They're making moves. And if they don't work, they don't work. But guess what? The moves aren't going to work for most of the teams in MLB every single year. And at least they're trying. And I really, really respect it.
Amen. I'm with you.
So anything from this game specifically you're trying to pick out? I know you're not a big Waka guy and you love for your Yankees.
A little bit of love. Their lineup is getting back to normal. Judge came back last night. They're really cheap. So Torres is a guy I've been talking about a lot lately. He's really started to turn his season around. He had been so cold. Look at the game log. I mean, we know who Torres is. He's a good hitter, at least in my mind. So whenever, he's cheap like this and seeing the ball well, I'm interested.
No doubt about it. All right. How about Tampa?
Probably get a bullpen game here. So I'm a little worried about them pinch hitting guys. But yeah, I mean, whatever their lineup looks like, their main hitters are in play. Cruz, Franco.
They're so expensive, which is the hard part, right?
Yeah. They're so expensive. I will say Arozarena looks pretty good at 4,700, but moving on.
No doubt. Zach Davies versus Tyler Mahle. I think this one's a full-up game where I just don't have much interest in the pitchers or the hitters. This is one of those just classic neutral games where I probably don't really look at anything. Yeah, if there's a cheap one-off you like, I get it, but this is not a game where I'm trying to get on either side of it.
I like the couple. I won't use the pitchers and I won't stack the offenses, but two Cubs I like are Bryant, who's 7 of 18 with 5 extra base hits off Mahle, and Anthony Rizzo, who is just red hot right now. And then one Red I like is Jesse Winker, who's back to being on fire and has good numbers off Davies.
That'll work. You're right. Rizzo is absolutely tearing it up right now. Interesting to see if either one of these Cubs players ends up on different teams by the end of the week.
For sure. So that's in the back of my head, but I'm not not using them because of that. Maybe in a tiebreaker, you know?
Just keep your eyes peeled. All right, man. Next up, we got Madison Bumgarner against Jordan Lyles. Bumgarner is like the guy. I can make a good case for him, like in a year-long league, but we talked about it. You can't pay this price for him. Arizona's in a good spot against Jordan Lyles, but they're also not very good. So it is your classic wild card game.
Yeah, it's classic wild card. I have nothing more to add on that. I could see both pitchers pitching well. I could see both offenses blowing up. I lean the offenses if I'm forced to choose, but I probably don't get to either side just because there's other sides I like more, quite frankly.
Yeah, like if you want to like a stack of Peralta Calhoun together on the cheap, okay, fine. Go do your thing. It's not where I'm going to end up, but I certainly get it.
This is a classic one, though. Like Texas, Arizona in a 9-inning game that are awful offenses, or Boston, Toronto in a 7-inning game. That's like a real good question in my mind.
Right? Yeah. It's just it's a weird setup right here. All right, Giolito. We didn't talk about him for a long time, but he's kind of like a better version of Andrew Heaney in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him more consistency than that, but I never have been a huge Giolito guy, so you know that.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of these guys, like, it's more complex than read the game log, but read the game log. Like, there's a lot of lack of consistency. He's got huge upside, as evident by 2 38-point-plus games. He's also got a ton, several single-digit games, a lot of stuff in the teens, so he's all over the place. Good hitter's park. I mean, good pitcher's park. For
sure. No doubt about that. So, yeah, he's my third option. He's right above Heaney for me. He's more expensive. I do prefer Wheeler and Buehler by quite a margin, though.
All right. Any love for the White Sox against Chris?
Yeah, definitely. Anderson, Abreu, Eloy Jimenez is back. I don't know if you've known that because I know you've been away, but he's been really cheap. He homered yesterday. I imagine he'll be one of the higher-owned hitters on the slate, and for good reason. So,
yeah, I'm sure you're right.
Jimenez, Abreu, Anderson, 3 guys I'm looking at.
Awesome. Sounds good. I get it. Kansas City's not a great hitter's ballpark, but it only needs to be great today. Next time, Colorado against LA. We got Chichi against Heaney. This is another one. I get a lot in this game, and what I mean by that is Heaney's one of my top SPs, but I certainly understand a lower-owned Colorado against them.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, they went off last night. Any day now could be Trevor Story's last game as a Colorado Rocky, so keep your eyes peeled for something like that. And then what about – I heard there's this guy that plays for the Angels. Some people call him appointment television. Ohtani, are you familiar with him?
I think I'm a little bit familiar, and yeah, I'm with you. I think the Angels are in a great spot against Chichi. And the Rockies, for me, I don't like the Rockies because I think like they're necessarily, gonna go off on Heaney. But if the more love Heaney gets, that's always in the range of outcomes for Heaney. So that's where my love for the Rockies comes in.
Yeah. So I called the Ohtani home run the other day, and I'd like to take credit for that. But when a guy homers every other game, it was just a coin flip call right there, right?
He's one of only like 5 players to go into the second half of the season or something with 35 homers and like 15 steals. And he pitches also. Like, he's insane.
Yeah, he really, really is. If you can get him in your lineup, guys, go do your thing. Any of the Angels are going to be in play against Chichi Gonzalez. He may not be quite as bad as like the DFS public talks about him, but he's not good. So they are a team that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're another one. Their lineup is pretty weak too. So interested to see like how much love they get as a full stack. I'm real interested in them here.
Yeah, and Trout should be back in the pretty near future though.
Interesting.
Which will be nice just, for them as a whole. Oh, or I can.
I imagine he'll be back next month.
It'll just be nice to see him back. So one of the faces of the league. Yeah, he might be missing Jared Walsh too. So yeah, the Angels lineup is not very good.
No, you got Trout, Rendon, and Walsh probably missing. That's rough.
No doubt about it. All right, Desclafani against Buehler. So Desclafani is having a great year. Really, the only hiccups in his season have come against the Dodgers, but the last 2 times out, he's been solid against them. And I'm not going to use Desclafani, but I'm not really interested in the Dodgers here.
You know who's having just an awful year is Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, he is.
Like Yelich type.
I was just going to say, you remember when him and Yelich were battling it out for the MVP and they look like the 2 best hitters in baseball outside of Mike Trout? Yeah, don't feel that way right now, does it?
No, I think that Yelich actually might be having a better year than him. I'm with you. I like Bueller. No interest in the Giants. And yeah, I think that actually on this slate, I might be more interested in DeSclafani than I would be the Dodgers bats. Although you can always make a case for the Dodgers. We talk about that a lot.
You can, but with no bets, obviously Seager's been out forever. Bellinger is slumping. I like Turner and I like Monte. I just can't really rationalize getting to them on this slate.
I think the big thing, like no bets and no Seager, obviously hurts a lot. When you have a guy like Bellinger who's just having such a bad year, I mean, I'm with you. Like you're almost looking at that. Like Bellinger's a positive for DeSclafani in there.
Yeah, no kidding, guys. All right, that's what we got for today. We appreciate y'all watching. Click that thumbs up button, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.